Hi, everyone. If we haven't met or interacted already, my name is Divya, and I'm so excited to be here. I'm so grateful to be here, to be seeing all of your beautiful faces and to practice with you. First thing I want to say is thank you, thank you, thank you for being such truly active participants in this fundraiser in every sense of the word, in every way possible. And as a very, very humble gesture of my gratitude, I'm leading us through this yoga practice today. So I hope you're all as excited as I am. I've got like jitters and nerves, but it's all the good kind. Today's class will be honoring the strength and the resilience that we're seeing in farmers throughout India who are fighting for their livelihoods in what's now being called the largest protest in human history. And this ranges from the farmers up in the north marching to Delhi amidst difficult weather conditions and violence from the police, to farmers from the south who are protesting in solidarity while simultaneously rebuilding from a catastrophic cyclone that wiped out their crops and wreaked havoc on their agricultural economy. Many of us right now might be feeling mixed emotions of rage or sadness or disbelief. And these are all valid feelings, of course. But today's fundraiser, or this whole fundraiser, and today's class specifically, is geared at harnessing that energy in as productive of a way as possible. Our asana practice specifically is going to incorporate some very special elements, martial arts and wrestling techniques that originate from various regions in India. And this is both, again, to honor that strength and resilience, the fortitude, but also go within. And my aim was really to invoke the warrior within all of us, as cliche as that sounds. I think at a time like this, to preserve that energy, to keep fighting this good fight, we need to invoke that warrior energy in us, to keep fighting that fight alongside our community who are on the ground in India doing this. So throughout class today, we'll move at varying paces, embodying both sthira, which is stability or steadiness, fixedness, if you like, and sukha, which is ease and comfort. And this translates to a movement practice that includes faster, more dynamic flows that build heat, and asanas or flows that are a bit more cooling and grounding. So keep an eye out for both. And at any point throughout class, you're welcome to take a rest in child's pose or any pose that you can rediscover your sukha or rediscover your ease. So that will likely be different for everyone. I'll offer variations as often as possible. And as a general rule of thumb, most poses that you're doing balanced on your palms or on your wrists, which can be sensitive, you can typically do them balanced on your entire forearm as well. And similarly, a lot of the time, poses that we're doing on our knees, if that's a sensitive spot, you can also do seated upright. If it depends on if you're on your knees doing a spinal kind of movement, you can sit in a cross-legged position and do the same movement. If not, I will offer the best variations that I'm able to think of and that I know of. So that's my whole spiel. Thank you all so much once again for participating in this fundraiser. I know it's been a very intense week for those of you who've been keeping up with me and my own emotional roller coaster. So I appreciate you being here today and trusting me to guide you through practice. Let me just check the chat really quickly. And let me just see. Oh, I gotta make the, okay, you should be good to go. All right, so I'll go ahead and move on to my mat. We're gonna start in a standing position. Oh, one more thing before I get started. I'm gonna do my best to leave some time at the end of class for a Q&A. Generally, if it's about yoga or the fundraiser or any questions that you might have, really. So think of them throughout class. You can drop them in the chat down at the bottom of your screen, and our moderator, Ekta from United Through Action. Also, thank you to my lovely partners, United Through Action. They've been a great support through this week and making sure that this fundraiser goes smoothly. So let's give them a moment of gratitude as well. They're moderating, and they will be taking those questions in throughout class and sort of accumulating them so I can look at them afterwards. And just in case, it might go a little bit over, so hopefully you can stick around. If not, that's totally fine. You can always catch the replay when we email it out in a few days' time. All right, so that's all of it. I'll stop talking now. I will go ahead and move on to the mat. And we're going to start in a standing position today. And this is going to be the first element of our martial arts sort of infusion into the yoga practice. Fun fact, there are a few different styles of martial arts that originate in India, in southern India, that are known to be some of the oldest martial arts in existence. And some of these practices actually share roots with yoga and are almost known to be sort of the other side of the same practice. So it's like two sides of the same hand. Just very much like the concept of yin and yang, it's the exact same idea here. So you'll notice when we're doing a lot of our martial arts activities, and I'll make sure to call them out so that you know what we're doing, and I'll call them by name as well so you can learn something new. Just keep in mind that it might feel familiar. Some of the movements might feel like familiar yoga poses you've done, but there's going to be a different element of both in how we breathe. Sometimes it's opposite, and the sort of effort and energy that we put into the movement. And last thing I'll ask is, if you haven't already checked, just double check that your camera is muted so we don't have static noise throughout class. And yep, that's it. Let's get started. So we'll start with our feet about hip width apart. Let's get ourselves nice and stable. So with this practice, this is known as the Kalari Pranayama. Kalaripayat is the first martial art that I'm going to be sort of incorporating into class. This pranayama is meant to help you ground and steady your focus. So starting from the feet down, I think it's a nice metaphor as well for us to always ground ourselves before we take on any change or any dynamic action. So starting with Pada Bandha, the foot bind. Lean back slightly on your heels and then pick up all your toes off the mat and slowly start to place them back down on the mat, starting from your outer toes, laying all the way down to your big toe. Almost called it your thumb, your foot thumb. And just try to feel as much surface area underneath the sole of your foot as you can and feel that steadiness. And once you have all of your foot down on the mat, imagine that you're now sucking the mat through the center of your foot. So sort of grip the mat with your toes, and you'll notice that there's an immediate lift in your kneecaps and an activation through the thighs. This is what differs just standing sort of effortlessly versus standing in what's a nice grounded position. So in mountain pose, Tadasana, this is the best way to create your stability and truly become like the mountain, so that if someone came and poked you, you would not fall over. So from here, the next thing we want to look at is our hand position. So we'll start with Gyan Mudra, or the Mudra of Knowledge. So take your thumb and meet that with your pointer finger. So it looks like this. And the remaining fingers can be straight. And you'll have your hands at your side like this with your palms sort of facing up and out. And this mudra activates the fire and air elements in the body and helps balance out the vata, or the air energy, so that we're able to ascend into higher consciousness and access that wisdom within. Next thing we'll keep in mind is the drishti. So as we do this moving pranayama, your gaze is focused on your opponent, which in this situation is yourself. So you're looking forward, but you're not really looking at a wall or whatever's in front of you. You're sort of just looking within. Your focus is within. You just happen to be looking out this way. And final element is the Ujjayi breath. We want to start inviting heat into the body. If you're not familiar with Ujjayi breath or victorious breath, you can do this by pressing your tongue against the roof of your mouth, which seals off the back of your throat. And when you seal your lips and now breathe in through the nostril, you'll hear a deep ocean-like sound that should sound a bit like this. So when I do this practice, I like to envision that I'm really lifting air up and out of the body through all the chakras, and then as I exhale, letting it all go back out. So let's combine all of these movements now to start the pranayama. Starting with your hands down at your side, drishti ahead, pada bandha engaged, hands in Gyan Mudra. As we inhale, we'll slowly start lifting our arms out to the side, keeping them nice and straight, and coming up onto the balls of the feet very, very carefully and slowly, still gripping the mat under your toes. And as you exhale, you can slightly flip your palms down and release gently with control back down onto the full surface of your foot. That is one pranayama. And of course, as you inhale, you come up, exhale to come back down. So let's do that 10 times together. That was just our first one. Inhale. Exhale. 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 And just take a breath, breathe normally, steady yourself. Hopefully you feel a little bit of a change in the body. One more note I forgot to mention. If you haven't already, if you're in gallery view, you can go ahead and go to the box where my video is in the view. And if you just hover on the box at the top right, there'll be 3 dots. If you click on that and hit pin video, that'll just make sure that it's my screen that's fixed on your computer so that you can see what I'm doing. All right, perfect. So let's go ahead and come down onto our mats. Take whatever position feels comfortable to you. So you can take Sukhasana, just easy pose with your legs crossed. You can take Siddhasana, which is accomplished pose, by taking your right heel and tucking it into your seat, and then taking your left foot and tucking your foot into, your right foot. You'll bring it up and tuck your the side of your foot into the crease of your left thigh. And similarly, you'll take your left foot, tuck it into the crease of your right leg, and sit up like so. And you can sort of scoot your hips up like so, or you can just sit cross-legged, whatever is comfortable. You can also sit back in Vajrasana like this. I'm just going to take Sukhasana. We'll do our second pranayama, which is Bhastrika, or Bellows Breath. This one is an excellent one to be done in the morning if you want to sort of just zhuzh up your energy and get blood flowing very rapidly through the system. Also great for building heat. So a few different variations. You can sit like this and just have your hands on your knees, or you can bring your hands to your belly to sort of help with the movement that I'm going to talk to in a moment. Or as we're doing our inhales and exhales, you can have your hands up, fingers spread wide like this. This will be what it looks like when you're inhaling, and as you exhale, you'll form a fist, thumbs into the palm, fingers in circle. Exhale, you pull your hands down rapidly like this to about shoulder level, squeezing the shoulder blades together. So bellows breath, it's almost like those old school fans that they would use to sort of fan a fire and keep it going. Essentially, as you're inhaling, you're sort of expanding the chest, and as you exhale, you're pushing your belly back. So it's almost like you're fanning the abdominal wall to build this heat. It's kind of a great massage for your internal organs as well. And all the breathing is done in and out through the nostril. We do this in a sequence of 3, it's sort of broken down into 3 steps. So the first set is 10 breaths very quickly. You take a pause. We'll do 15 breaths after that, take a pause, and then do 20 breaths together to finish off. And I'll give you a quick demonstration so you can hear what it sounds like. And the reason why I said you can keep your hands on your belly is it sort of helps you, you're not pushing your stomach back, but it helps you feel that motion so you can concentrate your energy and your focus on pushing the abdominal wall back. It just sort of helps you connect your mind to your body. And similarly, this hand assist can also help you with that same sort of mind to body connection of exhaling quickly. So choose your variation and let's get started. Take one breath just to inhale and cleanse. You can let your gaze fall down to the floor or close your eyes. And we'll get started. Inhale, exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Take a break. Catch your breath. All right, let's set up for round 2, 15 breaths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and rest. Last round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And rest. Let your hands fall onto the knees. Take a minute, just observe any changes. Practice your awareness. Notice any changes in your breath, any changes in your heart rate, any changes in the heat of your body. All right, so you can go ahead and open your eyes if you like, just to follow along. Our final sort of moving pranayama, which will also start warming up our spine. We'll be using Ujjayi breath again, so those long, deep, drawn out breaths, sealing off the back of the throat. As we inhale, we'll lift our hands up, out to the sides, bringing our palms together at the top. And as we exhale for the first round, you'll bring the right hand out in front of you, left hand behind as you twist over your left shoulder, keeping the spine nice and tall. Keep the belly button pulled into the back of the spine so you're not straining your lower back. It's a gentle twist. It doesn't need to be very forced. Inhale, back up to center, arms up overhead. And exhale, twist to the right this time. So your left hand comes out in front, right hand goes behind you as a brace, twist over your right shoulder. Inhale, back up to center. That was one. We're going to do that a few more times. Inhale, up over center. Exhale, twist left. Inhale, center. Exhale, twist right. Inhale through center. Exhale, twist left. Inhale through center. Exhale, twist right. Inhale through center. Exhale, twist left. Inhale through center. Exhale, twist right. Inhale through center. Exhale, release the palms down to your knees. And then go ahead and come up onto your hands and knees. If this position's not comfortable for you, you can come down onto your forearms instead. If it's not comfortable on your knees either, you can also do the work we're about to do sitting in cross-legged position like so. So we'll start off in tabletop Varmasana pose on your hands and knees or on your forearms like I showed. Take a moment here and we'll practice our hasta bandha, our hand bind, before we get into a pose where it's more load bearing on the wrist. So spreading out just like we did with our feet, start by placing your palm, spread your palm nice and wide and then place it down on the mat. Spread your fingers wide. You don't need to exaggerate the spreading, but just let them sort of fall naturally with some space between the fingers. From here, what you want to do is imagine that your sucking the mat into the center of your palm. So sort of grip the mat with the pads of your fingertips and the roots of your fingertips as well. So up here and then here where your fingers meet your palm. So try to focus your weight on those points of contact instead of dumping the weight down at the joint where your wrist meets your forearm. Try to focus more of the effort. Imagine that your feet are really, or your hands are really your feet, and how that would feel. We don't put all of our weight back on our ankle joint or our tendons here. We put them more on the surface of the foot. So imagine that. Try to be one with the foot or the hand. So just remember this stability throughout class. Keep thinking of that metaphor of sucking the mat into your palm to help you sort of get that suction through the center of your palm. You'll notice that there's a bit of a hollow or a gap here in the center. And as you grip, you should feel some activation through the forearm, which helps take some of the load off of the sensitive wrist joint. So keep this in mind with class. And from here, we'll move into some cow and cat variation, Bithilasana, Madhyasana. So if you're doing this in tabletop, as you inhale, you'll start to arch the spine upwards, lift the chest, pull the shoulder blades in together, and finally lift the gaze up. And as you exhale, first thing, tuck the chin into the chest, Jalandhara Bandha, chin bind, which protects your cervical spine, the back of your neck, and helps with concentration and focus. Next, you'll separate the shoulder blades, protracting them away from each other, followed by pulling your belly button into the spine. So you're now hollowing your belly like this in cat pose, Madhyasana. Once again, inhale, starting with the spine. Flex the lower spine, lift the chest, pull the shoulder blades together and raise your eyes and your gaze. And as you exhale, tuck the chin, separate the shoulder blades, pull the belly button into the spine. Inhaling on your cow, exhaling on your cat to help you contract. If you're doing this in a seated position like this, if you don't want to be on your hands and knees, you can just sit in a cross-legged position, bring your hands to your knees. As you inhale, you'll do the same motion. Arch your spine, lift the chest, pull your shoulder blades together, lift your gaze up. And as you exhale, tuck your chin, separate the shoulder blades, pull the belly button to the back of the spine and hollow out the front of the body. You can use your hands on the knees as a brace. So whichever variation you're taking, let's move through that with breath a couple of times. Inhale, cow pose, Bithilasana. Engaging your Ujjayi breath. Exhale, cat pose, Madhyasana. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more time. Inhale. Exhale. Come to a neutral spine, and then go ahead and sink your hips back, coming into child's pose. First thing, you can walk your knees about as wide as the mat, just to give yourself a little bit more space for your hips to sink down in between. Untuck your toes so you're now fully resting on the tops of your feet, and just let your hips fall as, close to the mat as they're comfortable going. Stretch your arms out in front of you and let your head, your forehead come to the mat, or your chin, whatever feels right. Take a breath here. As we inhale, what we're going to do, listen carefully for the cues. You'll lift your chest off the mat and start pulling your chest forward, keeping it, just grazing the mat, keeping it about an inch off of the mat. So you're really going to feel engagement through your shoulder blades, through your triceps, just on the other underside of your arms here. Keep your core pulled in, keep the gaze forward. And as you come through to the top of the mat, go ahead and pull your chest through. So we're in a low Cobra Bhujangasana like this. So at this point, your legs are fully outstretched. You're on the tops of your feet, but you're not letting them kind of passively stand there. You're pushing against your thighs so that your legs lift up instantly like this. Chest is engaged, shoulder blades are pulled back in towards each other, gaze is forward. And as you exhale, push back into child's pose, Balasana. That's one round of Bhujangasana push-up. Exhale into child's pose. Inhale, pull forward, grazing the mat with your chest. Coming forward, Bhujangasana. Exhale, push back, child's pose. Let's do this a bit faster. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. A few more times. Inhale. Exhale. Keep re-engaging your Ujjayi breath if it goes away. Inhale. Exhale. Keep your Drishti focused on the front of your mat. Exhale. Inhale. Last time. Exhale. Push back. Child's pose. Take an inhale here. And as you exhale, push up onto your hands, lifting your knees off the mat, pushing your hips up into the air. If this downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana, this pose is ever not comfortable, you can do the dolphin variation by just coming down onto your forearms like so. Take some of the pressure off of the wrist. At any point, if downward dog is never comfortable, you could also do tabletop, so you always have that option. In downward dog, we'll cover a few more bandhas really quickly. So we've talked about hasta bandha or the hand bind. Pull the shoulders away from the ears, wrapping your shoulder blades around the sides of the body. Tuck your chin into your chest so that your gaze is either between your toes, up towards your knees, or even up towards your navel. This is Jalandhara bandha or the chin bind, which I mentioned takes load off of the cervical spine or the back of the neck, and also seals off energy in the upper chakras, which helps us with ascension to higher consciousness. Last bandha to keep in mind is Uddiyana bandha, or the upward flying lock, abdominal bind. So for this, you want to imagine that you're exhaling first, pull the belly button to the back of the spine, and then imagine that you're almost pulling it back and up in towards the back of the rib cage, almost hollowing out the belly. Take another full breath. At the top of your next breath, look up towards your fingertips. Take an inhale, exhale, step the feet up between the hands. Grab opposite elbows, let your head hang. Just feel some release of tension here. As you inhale, plant the hands on the shins or on the mat, lift the gaze up, crown of the head reaches forward. Exhale, release the hands. Inhale, plant the feet firmly and slowly start rolling up to standing, pulling the belly button to your spine the whole time. Hands up together, overhead, slight arch in the back as you look up towards the ceiling. Mountain pose, Tadasana. Once again, keep your shoulder blades rolled down away from the ears. Pull up actively through your fingertips. Exhale, dive forward, bringing your hands through heart center down to the mat or to your shins. Utkatasana, forward fold. Roll back and forth on your toes and find an even balance here. Inhale, plant the hands on the mat or the shins. Lift the gaze up, crown of the head reaches forward, spine is nice and straight. Pull your shoulder blades in together, pull the belly button to your spine. Exhale, plant the hands down on the mat, step back to high plank, pushing back through your heels for a nice stable position here. And as you exhale, slightly tip forward on your toes, bend the elbows into the sides of the body. You can also do this with your knees on the mat, keeping the elbows pulled into the sides of the body, chest down towards the mat or just off. Chaturanga Dandasana. Again, keeping the shoulders pulled away from the ears. Inhale, roll over the tops of the feet, pulling up into upward facing dog, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Once again, just like some of the Bhujangasana pose that we did earlier, pull your shoulder blades in towards each other to help expand the chest. You're active through the legs, so once again, you're not sort of passively leaning on them. You're pushing against the mat with your thighs, pushing against the tops of your feet. And exhale, roll over the feet or step them back into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Take a breath here. Inhale, gaze forward. Exhale, step the feet up. Uttanasana, forward fold. Keep your Ujjayi breath engaged. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, halfway lift. Crown of the head reaches forward. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, roll up, mountain pose, Tadasana, arms up overhead. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold, hands on the mat. Release. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step back, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Exhale, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Inhale, gaze forward. Exhale, step the feet up. Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, release, Uttanasana. Inhale, roll up, mountain pose, Tadasana. And exhale. This time, just bring your hands to your heart with the variation. We're going to start incorporating our first Surya Bandhanam, which is a martial arts version of Surya Namaskar. So when you have your hearts at heart center, instead of having it like so, lift your hands up towards your face. And as you do so, close your forearms in so they touch. This is our pranam, our salutation. From here, open your hands out to your face like you're reading a book. So if this is how your hands look now, you open them up. As you inhale, you tuck your fingertips in towards the body, rotating them out so that as you start lifting them up, your palms are now facing out. And then up overhead, again with a slight bend in your upper back. And as you exhale, swan dive the arms out to the side, releasing down to forward fold, Uttanasana. Ardha Uttanasana, halfway lift. Exhale, listen for the change here. Plant your hands down to the mat. Step your right foot to the outside of your right hand. And step your left foot back so you're now in lizard pose. So your right knee is bent, left foot is stretched back behind you, toes, you're with your foot flexed, your toes are on the mat, heels pushing back. Hold this for a moment. So the first movement we're going to do, there's two separate elements to it. So the first part is as you inhale, you'll straighten your right knee. And as you exhale, you'll re-bend it down to where we started. That's the first element. Second element is the chin rotation. So as we inhale, we'll draw a circle with our chin counterclockwise. Yeah, that kind of clockwise. So as you inhale, you'll draw a half a circle. So at the bottom of your inhale, or at the top of your inhale, your chin is now into your chest. Your right leg is straight. As you exhale, complete that circle with your chin, bringing it out towards your right shoulder, and then back up to where you started with your knee rebent all the way. So all together, the movement looks like this. Inhale and exhale. The last little key is as you're completing your exhale, rather than just coming forward, try to tuck your upper chest down towards the mat like you're snaking it like so. That completes one rotation. So let's try that all together. One time, inhale and exhale. Great. Step the right foot back to downward facing dog and bring your left foot forward. You can also do this in one motion if you like. So starting with the right foot forward, you can just do sort of a mountain climber and switch the feet. You can also walk this out. You do not need to do this. It depends on if you want sthira or sukha, steadiness or ease. Again, we'll repeat the same thing on the left. So this time your left foot is on the outside of your left hand. As you inhale, you'll straighten the left leg, chin comes out to the right, then into the chest. As you exhale, rebend the left knee as you complete the circle with your chin coming back to where we started. One more time together. Inhale and exhale. Step the left foot back, coming into downward facing dog. Release the knees back down to the mat. We've been here before. We've done this before. Child's pose to Bhujangasana. Inhale, pull up into upward facing dog, though this time not Bhujangasana. Exhale, push back, downward facing dog. Inhale, step or hop the feet up to the front. Utkatasana, forward fold. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, listen for the change here. Bring your hands into your heart again, like we did in pranam. Tuck the hands into your body. Lift up. Exhale, swan dive the hands out. Come back into where we started with pranam. Hands together at the face, forearms to touch. That's one round. Now we'll do it again with the opposite side. Hopefully my breathing isn't distracting. All right, hands together, pranam. Inhale, peel the hands open, in through the heart, out through the chest. Exhale, swan dive the arms out to the sides, down to the mat. Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands. This time, step your left foot to the outside of your left hand. Right foot goes back. So the second round is just, we start with the opposite leg forward. So once again, inhale, chin out to the right, complete the circle to the left. Exhale as you switch the feet. Inhale, exhale, step the foot back, downward facing dog, child's pose to upward facing dog. Inhale as you come up, exhale, push back, downward facing dog. Inhale, gaze forward, exhale, step or hop the feet up. Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, hands to your heart, forearms together into the heart as you lift up. Exhale, swan dive the hands out, back to center, pranam. What do you think? Can we do that one more time? Full set? A little bit more breath to movement. Build that heat. Keep engaging your Ujjayi breath. Pranam, inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, swan dive the hands down. Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, plant the hands, step the right foot out to the side. Inhale, one rotation. Exhale, switch the feet. Inhale, exhale, step the foot back. Oops. There we go. Child's pose to upward facing dog. Exhale. Oops. AirPods keep falling out. Downward facing dog. Inhale, step or hop the feet up. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, release. Inhale, hands to the heart, out through, over the top of the head. Exhale, swan dive the hands out. One last round. Pranam. Inhale, hands into the heart. Out through the chest. Exhale, swan dive down to Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, this time step the left foot to the outside of the left hand. Right foot goes back, lizard pose. Inhale, one rotation. Exhale, dive through. Switch the feet. Inhale, one rotation. Exhale, dive through. Step the foot back, downward facing dog. Inhale, come up to upward facing dog. Exhale, push back. Inhale, gaze forward. Exhale, step or hop the feet up. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. Inhale, pranam, hands in through the chest, out through the heart. Exhale, release the hands down to the side. Nice job. Hopefully we're all building up a little heat. We'll move into our second sequence of Surya Namaskar, switching back to more traditional yoga, but we're still going to work in some elements of, this time, traditional Indian wrestling. Fun fact, the great Gama is a famous Indian wrestler who actually died undefeated, and he practiced many of the techniques that we're about to incorporate. So as we inhale, step the feet about hip width apart, lower the Thighs down towards the mat. Lift the arms up, coming into Utkatasana, fierce angle pose. Once again, engage your Padabandha, but this time also imagine that you're trying to rip the mat apart with your legs, so you should feel activation around your thighs. Engage your Uddiyana Bandha, your upward flying walk in the belly, and reach up tall through the fingertips. We'll do what's known as a Purna Betak, or a complete squat. So as you inhale, you'll sink down, so your thighs are going down towards being parallel with the mat. It doesn't have to get there if that's not comfortable. You'll inhale as your hands sort of do this rotating motion. Exhale to come back up. And we'll just repeat that for a few more rotations. So it's sort of a movement of the breath. It's a cycle of breath. There's no pause in between. So inhale, lower down, exhale, come back up to your starting position. Inhale, exhale. Try to make a nice, smooth, but forceful breath. One more time, inhale. And lift the arms back up into chair pose, Utkatasana. Exhale, plant the hands. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, halfway lift. Crown reaches forward. Exhale, plant the hands, step back, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, roll back, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your right leg up into the air, stretching tall through the toes, so you're getting a nice full side body stretch from your right fingertips to the toes. Try to level your hips to the mat. And as you exhale, start bending the knee, rounding it into the spine as you shift your weight forward, keeping the knee pulled into the chest. And finally, finish your exhale with your foot up on the inside of your right hand, Anjanae Asana, low lunge pose. From here, as we inhale, start by turning the outside of your left foot down to the mat. So you're flattening the foot that was lifted down onto the mat. Keep your right knee bent as you inhale, lifting the arms up. Warrior One Veerabhadrasana. Take a minute to settle in here, finding some sukha. If you like, you can take Kshepana Mudra in this pose instead of just having your hands together. Kshepana Mudra, you interlock all of your fingers except for your pointer fingers, which are pressed into each other like so. Thumbs overlap. You want a lot of tension, but you want a little bit of gap here in between your palm. And this mudra is excellent for ridding yourself of negative energy, making some space for positivity to enter. I just find it helps me stay stable as well. As you inhale, again, lift up through the fingertips, lower the shoulders away from the ears. See if you can pull your hips so that they're both level with the front of the mat, rather than opening you up to the left. Sink as deeply over the right knee as is comfortable, and keep pushing down to the outer edge of your left foot so you feel a full engagement in the thigh. One more deep inhale to elongate fully. As you exhale, start separating your hands first, and then opening them out wide, Warrior Two, second variation of Veerabhadrasana. Your fingertips are still active here, pulling you in opposite directions on your mat. Keep sinking down through the heel, lower the shoulders away from the ears. As you inhale, now flip your right palm, lift it up overhead, left arm rests on the thigh. Viparita Veerabhadrasana, reverse warrior. Be sure that you're not collapsing on your left side here, that you're still actively pulling up out of the hips so that your side body is engaged. Your ribs are not collapsing down onto the hips, you're pulling them up and out of the hips. Gaze can be up towards your fingertips if that balance feels accessible to you. If not, gaze forward is just as well. As you exhale, cartwheel the hands down to the mat. That just means first lower the right hand down, then rotate and lower your left hand down, picking up your back heel in the process, arriving where we started, Anjanae Asana. Now here's where it gets fun. Instead of doing a classic vinyasa of just downward dog into upward facing dog, we're gonna take what's called a dand, or I guess they're also widely known as Hindu push-ups or Indian push-ups. Don't love the term, but Push back. We'll start in downward facing dog. And the key here is to start pushing firmly into the mat. So you're not just gripping the mat anymore, you're pushing your palms into the mat, really solidifying. You take an inhale here in your downward facing dog. Sort of sustain that breath as you start to shift the body forward, sort of like you're coming into a plank, but you start bending the elbows, like so. Inhale, come through upward facing dog, but notice the variation here. My toes are still tucked. You're not down on your tops like you would be in upward facing dog. You're engaged. So the difference is in upward facing dog, you're engaging more through the front of the thighs. In the dund, with your feet engaged like this and knees off the mat, you're engaging through the back of the thighs or the hamstrings. As you exhale, push back up into downward facing dog. That's one dund. You can do this, or you can take the classic vinyasa starting from downward facing dog and moving through upward facing dog, coming back here. All right, from downward facing dog, inhale, lift your left leg high into the air this time, stretching through the toes, full elongation through the left long side of the body. Keep your left hip level to the mat. Exhale, pull the knee into the chest. Start pulling your chest over your shoulders over your hands. Exhale, release the foot next to your left hand. Anjanae Asana. Inhale, spin your right heel down to the mat this time. Keep your front knee bent as you lift up your arms overhead. You can take Shepana Mudra again with your hands if you like. Take a breath and ground. With each inhale, lift the spine up taller. Energize through your fingertips, gaze ahead. As you exhale, ground through both feet. Pull your right hip forward. Sink a little deeper if it's appealing to you. One last inhale to stretch up tall. Exhale, open up wide, warrior two, Veerabhadrasana. Imagine that energetically you're trying to pull your thighs together so that you feel a nice stability and solidity through the center of your gravity here, from shoulders down to the mat. Reach actively through your fingertips. Gaze can be over your front fingers, your middle finger if that's accessible. Inhale, flip the left palm, right palm falls down onto thigh. Lift the left arm up into the air, following the gaze. Again, not collapsing the right rib cage onto the hips, pulling up actively. Exhale, once again, cartwheel the hands back down to the mat, Anjanae Asana, low lunge. And your choice here, dund or classic vinyasa. I'm gonna start with a dund, coming down through downward facing dog to start. All right, at the top of your inhale, gaze up. Exhale, step the feet up with Tanasana forward fold. Inhale, gaze goes up. Ardha Uttanasana, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, back up, Utkatasana, chair pose. Few more Purna Betaks here, complete squats. Inhale, 1. Inhale, 2. 3. And release the hands back down to the mat, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, step back, Chaturanga Dandasana. Lower down. Inhale, upward facing dog, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Gaze forward. Exhale, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. All right, listen for the change. As you inhale, lift your right leg high into the air. Exhale, once again, come through to Anjanae Asana, keeping the knee pulled into the chest the whole time until you plant the foot down on the mat. I'm gonna rotate so you guys can see me better. From here, walk your hands over to the left long side of your mat, paralleling your feet as you go. So the insides of your feet are now parallel to each other. Plant your hands directly underneath your shoulders. Once again, ground through your feet. Really grip the mat here and find some stability. Find where your center of gravity is by rocking back and forth a few times until you feel stable. Plant the hands on the mat. Inhale, lift up into another wide-legged forward fold, Prasarita Padottanasana. And this is just like our halfway lift where our crown reaches forward, spine is extended, belly button pulled in. Exhale, exaggerate your release down to the mat so that you find a little bit more extension in the spine, using the weight and gravity of your head to traction your spine down towards the mat, hollowing out the belly to find a little bit more space to fold into yourself. A nice little massage for the internal organs. Hold this. And now we're gonna do what's known as a Hanuman Baitak, sort of a dynamic squat. So we'll do 2 fast and 1 slow. Take an inhale, extend the spine forward. As you exhale, there's 2 options here. You can sink over your right bent knee, coming into a side lunge like this. And you can bring your hands up to your heart, keeping the spine nice and straight, not hunched over, chest lifted. Or you can come into Skandasana, which is sinking your hips down closer to the mat. Either variation is fine. Inhale through center to lift up. Exhale, sink over your left heel this time. Inhale center, exhale right. Inhale center, exhale left. This time we're going to slow it down. Inhale center, exhale, back down to the right, but just hold here for a bit of a static hold. Again, you can stay up in low lunge or in side lunge. Or you can come down. If you're in side lunge, your left foot is flush to the mat, the sole of your foot. If you're coming to Skandasana, sole of your foot picks up, gaze is forward. One more breath. Inhale through center. Exhale, sink over the left side. This pose is really interesting because I find that there is a constant tension between sthira and sukha. My muscles are constantly tensing and releasing as they find and then lose stability. And I have to find comfort in the instability, which is an interesting metaphor for life in general, I guess. Getting all philosophical on y'all. All right, inhale through center. And as you exhale, come back to Anjanae Asana at the top of your mat where we started. Step back, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your left leg high this time, stretching out through the toes. Exhale, Anjanae Asana on the left. Inhale, walk your hands over to the right long side of your mat. Same thing, parallel the feet. Shoulders in line with your wrists and your palms down on the mat. Inhale, push the mat away, lift the gaze. Elongate the spine. Exhale, exaggerate your fold as you release down to the mat. Press the mat away. Again, we'll do a couple of Hanuman Baitaks and then go into Skandasana holds. Inhale, gaze up. Exhale, sink over your left heel, lifting the chest up. If you're up here, or you can lower down into a sort of dynamic Skandasana hold. Inhale through center, exhale to the right, whether you're in side lunge or Skandasana hold. Inhale through center, exhale left. Inhale through center, exhale right. Use your Drishti, your gaze, as a fixed point here to help you find balance. Inhale through center. This time, exhale to the left. Find whatever variation you can hold in. You can find some sukha or ease in, whether it's Skandasana or the side lunge. And breathe easy. Keep extending the spine. Find energy through your toes on the right side. If you're in Siddhasana, that is. If you're in side lunge, find energy in grounding the outer edge of your right foot down to the mat. Last time, inhale through center. This time, exhale, sink to the right. Things might be different on this side, so maybe you explore something a little bit different. Inhale through center. Exhale, Anjanae Asana back at the top of your mat. Step back, downward facing dog. Release down to Varmasana, tabletop. Walk your knees as wide as the mat, sink the hips back, Balasana. And just take a few breaths here. Rest, let your heart rate start to slow down. From Balasana, come onto tabletop and just roll over so that you're on your back now. You can bend your knees with your heels in towards your butt. And slowly, one at a time, pick your knees up so that your foot is facing the ceiling. If you're lifting your left foot up, first grab the outside of your foot with your left hand, then lift up your right knee. Grab the outside of your foot with your right hand, arriving in Ananda Balasana, or happy baby pose, blissful baby pose to be exact. And just explore this movement. You can do gentle circles with your feet in opposite directions, exploring a little bit of hip mobility. We did a lot of deep hip work today, which is very common in Indian martial arts and in yoga in general, but specifically in martial arts and wrestling training. So find a little bit of a more comforting compression this time. It's not as dynamic, kind of like feels like a weighted blanket sometimes. You can extend one foot at a time or both at a time. To do this, you'll feel a little bit more of a sensation in your inner thighs. If you bend the knees into the chest, you'll feel more of a sensation in the hip joint. So choose your player and go for it. From wherever you're at, go ahead and bring the soles of your feet together, still keeping your hands around the feet for a moment. And then release the hands, but keep your soles of your feet together as you release them down to the mat, forming a diamond shape, letting your knees fall out to the side, arriving in Supta Baddha Konasana, or reclined butterfly pose, reclined bound angle pose, as it's exactly translated to. Sometimes the sensation of having the weight of the knees come out can be uncomfortable. If so, you can use your fists under your hip joints to just alleviate some of that, or you can use blocks. You can also extend your soles out longer towards the bottom of your mat so that there's less weight. So you're a bit of a longer diamond, more of a Kajugatsu type of diamond. And from here, just release the legs. Inhale, bend the right knee, pulling it into the chest, squeezing it in tight with both hands, encircling the knees. As you exhale, let your right hand release to the mat. Keep the left hand around your knee as you pull it across your body into Supta Matsyendrasana, reclined Lord of the Fishes pose. Your knee does not need to touch the floor. That is fine. You can just keep the weight of your left hand on it to traction it that way. Right hand goes out to the right side. Gaze goes over the right shoulder. Opposing forces once again, finding that theme of Sthira versus Sukha. With each exhale, just let your body naturally fall closer and closer to the mat, giving your muscles permission to release tension. It always takes me a good 5 breaths to actually let go of every single muscle that I'm desperately clinging onto. So take your time, be patient. When you're ready, go ahead and bring your gaze back to center, matching the retrieval of your right knee. Bring it back into your chest, squeeze it one more time, and then exchange for your left knee. Right leg goes out long. Encircle the left knee with your hands, pulling it deep into the chest. Exhale. Using your right hand, pull the knee over to the right hand side. This time, left arm and gaze go over your left shoulder. Once again, exploring the balance of tension and ease with each breath, giving yourself more space to release down to the mat. Inhale, bring both knees back into center this time. Final squeeze, you can encircle them with your hands if you like for a little hug. Then release the legs long, release the hands. We made it, y'all. Shavasana, corpse pose. Let the eyes come to a close. Let your hands and feet just fall out exactly where they want. You don't need to put them anywhere. And just breathe naturally. We'll have a short Savasana meditation here before we wrap up. Enjoy it. When you're ready, you can go ahead and roll onto your side, pulling the knees into the chest, resting on your shoulder for just a moment. And go ahead and push yourself up to a seat. I'm gonna invite whoever would like to unmute themselves for one collective Om. I think it would really be beautiful to hear everyone coming into a chant together. So I'll give whoever is interested a minute to unmute themselves really quick. There is something so unifying about hearing Om together as a group. Of course, there's so much peace and beauty in doing it yourself, in exploring the silence before the sound, but there's nothing like hearing it in a group. And group chanting, group singing is such a huge part of Indian culture that it just feels right to invoke that energy in our practice today. And my personal focus today will be sending love and healing and support to our community in India who are under a lot of strain right now. So I'm getting emotional. Let's stop now. All right, so find a comfortable position. Bring your hands to your heart center. You can let your gaze fall to the mat or close your eyes if you like. Take one breath first to just cleanse. Inhale and exhale. I'll lead our Om and you can join in to match pitch. Inhale. We'll do two more. Inhale. Inhale.